1:15, if you look at the schedule, we're absolutely on time. I think we equally don't understand as young people on the streets are very much on time. They're there and on point in everything they want to do and what they want to realise. There's 15 minutes to reflect 3 hours, of which 2 would have represented your social coach contribution. So look at the hours you've all contributed, look at the information, knowledge, wisdom, experience that you've contributed to, and what the art of the possible could be. And as I said, with Equinet, I think it was about for over 2 to 3 weeks, I'd say the 2 hours we all contributed have now produced what you've seen as the art of the possible. With a lot longer relationship of a combat sport family, you've seen what our discipline, and at times passion and intensity can provide, but it's strategic discipline, it's creative discipline, it's innovative discipline. And it permeates beyond to going back to those who've had sport in their lives, all the arts or culture, which we all acknowledge and agree. But there has to be a social economic imperative. And I will be the first to say, legacy has always been left behind. In 2012, the pledge was to inspire a generation. It failed, especially those from disaffected, disadvantaged backgrounds. We have a pledge again as part of Birmingham 2022, that sport and physical activity re-engages, re-equips and re-empowers. But we know with lockdown, we know with George Floyd, we know with all that has happened, it has just brought everything to a near perfect societal storm. You've heard Geoff Thompson mentioned too many times. I sometimes like it replaced by the Youth Charter, but as yes, I have to drive it. I have to continually nudge away because that's what's required. When people want to know how winners are produced, we just do repetitive things more stubbornly, longer and better than others. That's it. There's nothing magical about it. So when we bring it back to our communities, we say, why not? In South Africa, it was Ubuntu. Post-apartheid South Africa, there were no grants, there were no policies, there was no strategy. I saw extraordinary people doing extraordinary things with extraordinary nothing. So I brought that Ubuntu back to my side, created a community, again, because we've forgotten. We had more with little economically than now we have seemingly more economically do we have little in that value of community. I'm going to pause there because I believe there's been enough shared, emotionally, intellectually and otherwise, to now create hopefully some questions, and then I'm going to present what the next steps might or could be, and whether we feel this is an effort that becomes truly collective. Just questions?
Yeah, sorry, again, sorry for the contributions. I was trying to get to pay for the parking ticket unsuccessfully. May I say online. However, even though you can't see me on that side, we've been working in the youth, across the youth agenda, across the world for 2-3 decades now. The only thing that I see missing from this room is more people who look like you. It's like we've done our thing and we're doing our thing, and if we drive this agenda through the youngers, the creators, the innovators who are willing to take the knowledge that we've accumulated over the years of being on the planet, then I think it's transforming, Geoff, what you guys have done in the space of time that you've had. But to get real traction, my opinion is that we have to have more people who look like you. We have to have more people who and catch them before they start dreaming. Start interjecting into their thought processes that they can be the creative creators. And then we'll have a movement. Because once the youth agenda is driven by the youth, for the youth, it's unstoppable. At the moment, they'll look at me, they'll look at Geoff, they'll look at many of us in here and they'll go, they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't understand it. Road's different now. We have to now engage the youngers, get traction, and across this city, do a lot of work in Birmingham. You have to join the dots up. You have to get, as Kirk will know, you've got to get Smallbrook talking to Handsworth You got to get the Northwest Corridor. You got to get the Black Country that is that fallopian tube that births all of this stuff. That's where the fallopian tube is. So I'll leave it there.
Remember this, it starts as young as 8. You have 11-year-olds taking the lives of 12-year-olds and the wider community. By the way, there's an intergenerational piece here. If we do not intergenerationally look at this, we are, as a community and a society, I think, facing some very interesting times.
Thank you. I was just going to say on Leslie's point and your point now, looking at young as 8. Yesterday on the news it was about the 13-year-old arrested for stabbing the 14-year-old in Small Heath. It was on Central News. So,
Asma, sorry, could you just stand up, please?
sorry?
Could you just stand up, please? Thank you.
Don't hide my belly. Don't hide a chair. But when you say it's young as 8, working previous decades in schooling, I think that's a community that is being really looked at. When you've got the drug dealers standing outside the schools and they're walking past and the teachers are doing nothing, it's about where do we target, how do we approach this youth, kind of like, what you mentioned, how do we get to that when it's starting younger?
Every single one of you, so teachers are no longer teachers.
They're not.
From today, on the basis of this, I will present this to a World Education Forum. It's global, all 5 continents. It's classroom, it's playground, it's beyond the school gate, it's formal, it's informal. Learning is not done in the classroom anymore. Anyone who's delusional enough to believe that really will lose the understanding and appreciation of what we're trying to achieve. This is the teacher. This is the teacher. Teachers have to become coaches. They're going to have to become more emotionally intelligent. They have to understand that when it comes to IT, for example, they need to sit in the classroom and let the pupils and the students. In a university that will go unnamed, the students knew more than the lecturers. So they took over the classes. They took the equipment. We are really operating in interesting times, but what I'm saying is it will take everybody, firemen, policemen, teachers, politicians. What Equinet are doing will mean that young people know who their local MPs are and be able to contact them and request their 2 hours. And if they don't, they'll say, I requested and I didn't get my time. Well, they know the power of their vote now. But the point is well made. We have to start as young as 6. I can show you images of a 1-year-old with a mother in Starbucks talking to her friend who gave her 1-year-old her mobile phone to keep him quiet. What I saw that 1-year-old do told me everything. It did not, it was fearless, it didn't think, it was reactive, it was instinctive, and that was it for an hour, to the point where Janice nudged me and said, that will do. In Dubai, it was the same. 3 children, 3 mobiles, and I realized the cerebral, what they're absorbing, the sponges in that grey matter, that's what we're up against. That's why Equinet and what we decided was interactively active, actively interactive. The Commonwealth E-Championships will take place. I'm not here to preempt. The Olympic Games in Paris will have the first gold medalist in esports. That's where we're going. Yeah, there will be a gold medal. Manchester City have their first esport professional. But you can win $350,000 to $1 million as an esport competitor. So who am I to tell a young person that you not pursue that type of economic and celebritized status? I think one of the world's $250,000, young 16-year-old in shooting, I think. I was in my bedroom, Mum, and I just thought I might win $250,000. Here you go. Questions, please. Thoughts? Sorry, you had your hand up. I'm sorry.
Yes, I just wanted to follow on from what you said, because what you said resonated with me a fair bit. Just like you said, that person who saved you, you said, each and every one of our youth want and is yearning to be saved. It is, are there enough of us out there to actually save each and every one of those youth? Because they are yearning, they want to go on the right, they just need that role model, you said, that person, the person that actually connects with them. It's about connection, And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And oftentimes the older you get, the more you lose, actually, I realized. Is that just keep that connection going. If you end up just inspiring one young person, lad, girl, then I think that we've done a good job.
Absolutely, but the digital age means we can do that 24/7.
Yeah.
We can be accessible.
Exponential, yeah.
We have got to be there for them every single moment of the day.
Yeah.
It is critical because we're competing. I think Microsoft spent 50 billion to acquire those games that will build up their demographic, and I'm saying, what's our counter? What would have Matt in his ongoing entrepreneurial trajectory to want to invest? What would Matt do as PwC? And by the way, it needs project management. Joel, in Africa, no, in fact, COP26, what was the legacy of COP26?
So, with regard to what we've done with COP26, normally COP26 will attract around 3,000 to 6,000 young people into a space to interact. Because of COVID-19, there's only 500 young people that were allowed to travel to Glasgow. That is COI 16, which is the equivalent of COP26, where young people take their fears, aspirations. COI is organized into local COI, so 120 countries have delegates where young people will say what they want, and COI 16 pulls that together and presents it to the panel of leaders at COP26. Because of that, we had a program where we had a partnership with the World Federation for the Deaf. They are responsible for 70 million deaf people, young people around the world, and different schools and organizations across the continent. The streaming, out of 174 sessions that were done, about 102 of them were virtual. It has to be, and most of them were streamed. And we were streaming into classrooms where there's only one TV, but those young people are there able to participate in those sessions. But so in terms of the impact, it is showing them what is possible, and also making them understand that they're now part of a wider voice. So at COI 16, we launched the Global Network for Youth Engagement. We launched another program that we were doing with Esher College, for example, where it's a collaborative program where students are the innovators in the green space for industry. So industry comes to students in these ecosystems and say, we need to find a way to turn our whiskey factory into a net zero factory. And the students will generate the innovations and provide the solutions to industry. Industry will choose what they want, the company choose what they want, and the students will participate in executing that. So there are different programs like that we're doing. But to answer your question, the impact is all these new possibilities that are now created. There are groups that are coming out of the blue and saying, we see what the community can do. Can we work together to do this? In fact, 2 weeks ago, the global change makers, South America, came up and said, we want to migrate our entire program with all the different branches we have globally onto a community. Last week, we set them up with their community. So they started that now. So the impact of what happens with these events is actually, more importantly, a realization around amongst young people and a lot of groups that are working with young people that they can now own the narrative. They can create a safe space for young people. There is no more distraction. They can hold their attention. They can help them. And that is proving to be the key thing that we are observing. And I wanted to talk about what the lady in the hijab was asking about whether there is enough of us out there. I believe there is. There are people who would like to contribute. One of the things that we found is that you cannot put a demand on somebody beyond what they can afford. The whole idea of creating what we call the calendar on steroids is for a person to say, you know what, I can only give you 2 hours a month. But those 2 hours are the type of things that we would normally get money and try to buy, whether it is a mental health professional working in the private sector that can now say, I will donate 2 hours a month for young people who have mental health challenge. Or whether it is an IT expert that says, here is a young person with talent, and I will donate 2 hours a month to mentor somebody in the technical space of IT. Truly, we can do that and allow people to commit what they can afford, and the system takes that into consideration. They have to set their availability, and the system will do the matching and the rest of it. And just before I shut up, sorry.
Go ahead, no, please.
Before I shut up, what is happening is that young people are becoming coaches to each other. And I think that is the greatest thing that we are observing, that when you impart that knowledge, that confidence to them in that ecosystem, there is something I haven't shown you, which is called peer-to-peer. They are becoming coaches to each other. And I think that is the greatest thing we can do. Let's give them what we can. Show them what is possible, give them guidelines, tell them you can come back to us for guidance, but actually, guys, initiate, start. Identify opportunities, work on it. They will be the one doing the majority of the job anyway from the model that we are building. So that's a bit.
But they're the social activators. By the way, they're doing it already. They're just another game. They're in another game. They're already doing peer-to-peer. They're already recruiting. They've already got their status. They're already foot soldiers and lieutenants. They've already got game. But we've sleepwalked and we've let it run to an unacceptable level. I can say that because